雍州异动，天魔教高层云集，城主府凭空消失了。
此事不能善了。
这位新教
你愿意继承开山教主的德与言，理与知吗？
教主的出现绝非苍生之福，当处置。你在这边看了这么久，看到了什么？
顺昌溺亡。
Only now did he realize the danger he had nearly overlooked because he was too focused on perfecting the technique. The new technique was indeed extraordinary, but also extremely energy-hungry. Qinmu's body could not withstand its burden. Even though he had reached the 5 elements realm, merely 4 hours of cultivation was enough to drain him completely. He immediately stopped training and racked his brain for a way to save himself. With trembling limbs, he rushed back to his residence, grabbed some money, and went to the academy to buy medicinal ingredients. On the way back, he began refining pills right there in transit, making people pause in awe of his skill. Before he even reached home, the spirit pills were already formed, emitting a faint glow and a soft, resonant hum like a chant, a sign of the potent energy sealed within. Without delay, he swallowed the pills one by one. But upon reaching home, his body swayed and collapsed in the courtyard. Hoolinger, startled, rushed over. With the last of his consciousness, Qinmu asked her to help guide the energy so the medicine could take effect, before finally passing out. When he awoke, warmth had begun to spread through his body. The medicinal energy had taken effect, though his body was still weak. He realized one thing: the technique was brilliant, but extremely dangerous. Without proper preparation, it could kill him. He began reconsidering whether to continue it now or postpone until his bodily foundation was reinforced. Hoolinger sat beside the bed, her expression still tense. Outside the window, the Kirin dragon tried to peek in, but its head was too large to fit. Qinmu smiled, assuring them that he would recover once the medicine was fully absorbed. Hoolinger admitted she had thought he would never wake up again because his body had become frighteningly thin and shriveled. Although the medicinal energy had managed to repair his soul, Qinmu's body was still severely malnourished, like a furnace without firewood. He knew that strengthening body and soul without nutritional support would only destroy him. He tried to stand, gaunt but fully conscious. He asked if there was any food. Hoolinger teased him, asking if he wanted green bull meat. The Kirin dragon instantly volunteered to roast the bull, still harboring a grudge. But Hoolinger had another idea. She suggested the Kirin dragon catch a giant fish from Jade Dragon Lake for their meal. The Kirin dragon agreed enthusiastically. He even said he had long been eyeing the fish there and could dive for days if needed. They immediately headed for the lake. A Taoist who saw the Kirin dragon diving shouted in protest, forbidding him from bathing in the lake. But Hoolinger ignored him and instead urged the giant creature to dive faster. A Qilin dragon plunged through the surface of Jade Lake, sending forth a tremendous wave that churned the water into a whirlpool. From the center of the lake, an old hermit, its guardian, emerged. He flicked the silver horsehair whisk in his hand, summoning thousands of spiritual energy that wove themselves into a radiant net meant to capture the dragon. But in an instant, the net shattered completely, leaving only its handle in the hermit's grasp. Realizing he was no match for the Qilin dragon's power, he fled in terror, shouting that a demon had defiled the imperial lake and that the culprit deserved death. Meanwhile, at the city's edge, a group of young scholars had just exited the Hall of Purity, where they had been studying. They strolled leisurely toward their dormitory, until their steps froze at the sight above. A giant red fish, its scales glimmering like those of a dragon, floated in the sky, trapped within a vortex of vital qi. Beside it, the drenched Qilin dragon drifted slowly through the air, and standing upon its head was a tiny white fox. Together, they carried the massive fish toward Qinmu's residence. The Qilin dragon dropped the fish in Qinmu's courtyard. The white fox immediately slipped inside, closing the door behind it as if nothing unusual had happened. The scholars who witnessed this whispered in disbelief. That's the red dragon carp, isn't it? One murmured. The king of fish from Jade Lake? It's only served at the emperor's banquets. Another chimed in, recalling how his father once tasted dragon carp soup at a royal feast the previous year and claimed it was food worthy of the gods. But back then, the fish was only 30 centimeters long. This one, however, stretched several meters. Before they could comprehend what was happening, the door to Qinmu's house opened once more. The white fox emerged, glanced around, then dashed toward the Tree of Ambition, a sacred tree planted by a wise monk to inspire the city's scholars. With a gust of demonic wind, the little fox felled the tree and dragged its trunk back to the courtyard. Moments later, white smoke began to rise. They were roasting the colossal fish over a blazing fire. Kuting, one of the students, gaped in shock. That's the Tree of Ambition! They're using it for firewood! A mouth-watering aroma spread across the courtyard, making every scholar's stomach growl in envy. The little fox asked, "How does it taste?" Qinmu replied calmly, "Not bad, but it lacks seasoning. It should have been marinated first. Still, this mulberry wood gives it a gentle aroma." The scholars could only watch in horror, waiting for the calamity that might befall Qinmu. Kuting sneered. "That young man is doomed. He's insulting the imperial symbol and eating a sacred creature." Yet, in the courtyard, what unfolded was nothing short of astonishing. Qinmu pierced the giant fish with a large iron rod. The fire, controlled by the Qilin dragon, burned steadily, crisping the outer skin while keeping the flesh tender and juicy. The white fox adjusted the direction of the wind, ensuring that the smoke and aroma seeped perfectly into the meat. The fish's belly was stuffed with mulberry leaves, onions, and ginger, releasing natural oils that sizzled and crackled, spreading a tantalizing fragrance. Qinmu's movements were skilled, his cuts precise, his presentation neat, like that of a royal chef. The three of them, Qinmu, the white fox, and the Qilin dragon, sat together around the fire, enjoying the result of their cooking. While eating, Qinmu recalled a teaching from the heavenly demon scripture, an ancient and mysterious technique. The Grand Spirit Restoring Pill Supplementation Technique, which could transform food into pure energy and vital qi. He steadied his breath, guiding his vital energy throughout his body as he activated the technique. In an instant, his digestion accelerated, absorbing every drop of energy from the fish's flesh. Qinmu's thin body began to recover. A soft radiance shimmered across his skin. The giant fish contained the 9 dragon qi, making it not only exquisitely delicious, but also immensely nourishing. Each bite sent waves of warmth through Qinmu's body. His once withered and frail muscles gradually filled out, restoring his original form. Hullinger stopped eating first, her belly visibly swollen. The Qilin dragon also lifted its head, full and satisfied. But Qinmu kept devouring the fish, each mouthful seemingly healing his weakened body. A moment later, a knock echoed at the door. Hullinger, her stomach nearly bursting, lazily got up and opened it. Wei Young stepped inside, glancing around in surprise as the aroma of freshly cooked food still filled the room. He exclaimed, "The stone lions at the gate came to life, and that fox is now fatter than I am." His tone was half teasing, half sarcastic. Then he eyed Hullinger suspiciously. "So, you've been sleeping with Qinmu, huh? No wonder your cultivation advanced so quickly." The fox bristled in anger. "Don't make baseless accusations. I haven't even done anything yet." Wei Young merely frowned, looking Qinmu up and down. Qinmu's body was indeed thinner than before, but there was something different about him, an aura of calm power, quiet yet dangerous. Qinmu only smiled faintly. "Sit down," he said. "Try the fish." Wei Young accepted the invitation. The moment the tender flesh touched his tongue, his eyes widened in shock. "So soft! It's like eating roasted clouds," he exclaimed. While chewing, he muttered under his breath, "You know, the directorate elders are furious. They're accusing you of disrespecting your studies and even belittling the imperial tutors." Qinmu replied evenly, "I had a minor mishap during cultivation. Nearly died, but I'm recovering now." Wei Yang nodded slowly. "In that case, I can bring you a recovery pill from the Duke." Qinmu declined politely. "That won't be necessary. This fish is more than enough." Wei Yang then leaned closer, lowering his voice to gossip. At the palace, Chancellor Basan and Chancellor Gu nearly killed each other. Gu almost died at Basan's hands before the emperor himself intervened. And before that even settled, Basan dragged me along to test something. Qinmu immediately interrupted. "Don't talk about filthy matters while eating." Wei Young chuckled and gave up, too full to argue. Meanwhile, Qinmu continued eating endlessly. Strangely, his stomach didn't bulge in the slightest. His body only grew stronger, his muscles firmer. At last, the massive fish was completely gone, leaving behind only gleaming white bones. Qinmu rose to his feet, his face refreshed, eyes sharp and bright. His life force surged powerfully, even stronger than before. Wei Young could only stare in envy. "Where did you get a fish like that?" he asked curiously. Qinmu answered casually, "From Jade Dragon Lake." Wei Young fell silent. "Jade Dragon Lake?" His voice trembled. "You mean this fish came from that imperial lake?" When Qinmu nodded, Wei Young's face turned pale as death. He glanced toward the remaining embers in the hearth and froze in shock. "That's the Tree of Ambition! You cut it down?" Hullinger blinked innocently. "Oh, so that tree had a name?" Wei Young nearly fainted. You cut down a sacred tree and roasted the imperial dragon carp? This is a sin that not even 1,000 heads could atone for." He stumbled backward in panic, muttering under his breath, I was never here. I never saw anything." Meanwhile, far away in the imperial palace, Gulen Wan had just returned from an audience with the emperor when he received a report from the guards of Jade Dragon Lake. A demonic fox and a Qulin dragon were said to have caused great chaos in the lake, even injuring the sacred guardians. Worse still, the red dragon carp king had vanished and was believed to have been eaten. Gulen Wan erupted in fury. But his rage soon twisted into a sly grin as the next report arrived. Qinmu and his pet fox cut down the Tree of Ambition, then roasted the Dragon Carp King in their own courtyard. The fish bones are now being cleaned to erase the evidence. Gulunuan laughed with malicious delight. Ha! A perfect opportunity. Now no one can protect him. Not even Bosun can defy the law. With renewed vigor, he barked at his guards. Arrest them all. Bring them to the Temple of Justice. Let the emperor himself judge their crimes. When a soldier hesitantly asked whether Wei Young should also be captured, Gulunuan replied coldly, "Yes, everyone in that house must pay for their sins." Then, with a wicked grin, he muttered, "These shoes finally fit just right." To him, that day felt like a gift from the heavens, a chance to destroy Qinmu completely. Yet when the troops stormed Qinmu's residence, all they found were the white fox and the Qilin dragon fast asleep under the moonlight. The air was filled with the fading scent of roasted fish, and the faint shadow of Qinmu, who had vanished without a trace. As soon as Guinluan arrived at Qinmu's residence, he immediately woke the Qinmu dragon, who was still fast asleep. In a hurried tone, he demanded, "Where is Qinmu?" The Qilin dragon opened its eyes slowly, yawned, and replied casually, "He was just taken away by someone from the palace." Hearing that, Gulunuan smirked. "Perhaps the emperor summoned him for execution," he said mockingly. Then, with a thin laugh, he added, "A shame, though. If his head is cut off, the sword in his hand will vanish again." Without further delay, Gulunuan ordered his soldiers, "Arrest the fox and this Qilin. I'll go to the palace myself." Upon reaching the imperial palace, Gulunuan immediately requested an audience with Emperor Yanfeng, but the guards informed him that the emperor was currently in the imperial garden. He rushed there, imagining the scene of Qinmu's execution. In his mind, that could only mean the emperor was in great wrath. But what he saw instead left him frozen. In the middle of the garden, Emperor Yanfeng and the Empress Dowager were laughing together with Qinmu, as if they were simply enjoying a peaceful morning. The emperor turned upon, noticing Gulunuan's arrival. "Oh, Gulunuan," he greeted warmly. "What brings you here in such a hurry?" Gulunuan bowed deeply, speaking with full confidence. "Your Majesty, I come to report a grave offense. Qinmu has roasted the imperial dragon carp from Jade Dragon Lake, a sacred delicacy meant only for your Majesty. It is a great insult to the empire." The emperor looked at Qinmu. "Is this true?" he asked calmly. Qinmu bowed his head. "I admit my guilt, your Majesty. I was unaware of the rule concerning the fish. If punishment is due, I am ready to accept it." The emperor nodded slowly. "A grave offense indeed," he said, then turned to Gulunuan. "What punishment do you think is fitting?" Without hesitation, Gulunuan declared, "I propose the death penalty for him and his entire household." But the Empress Dowager suddenly let out a soft laugh. "Indeed," she said gently, "he deserves to be beheaded, so the whole nation will know that our emperor loves fish and water more than his own people." The emperor froze for a moment, then burst into hearty laughter at her remark. "The Empress Dowager has a point," he said, waving his hand dismissively toward Guinluan. "Such a trivial matter is not worth my attention. You may withdraw." Gulunuan's face stiffened. He could not believe his scheme had completely failed. Before he could speak, the emperor fixed him with a piercing gaze. "You should be more concerned about your defeat at Bosun's hands. That humiliation is punishment enough. Go home and reflect on your failure. Pale-faced, Gulan could only bow and retreat slowly. Afterward, Qinmu spoke softly to the emperor. Your Majesty, please don't trouble the little fox and the Qilin dragon. They knew nothing of it. The Empress Dowager chuckled lightly. Don't worry, young man. I doubt Gunlun will dare to cause more trouble after this. She then smiled at the emperor. Your Majesty, have you not yet given a proper reward to Qinmu for helping restore my health? The emperor sighed softly. I have already appointed Qinmu as a royal scholar. That should suffice. Overindulging him would only breed jealousy. But the Empress Dowager persisted with a gentle smile.